Hello and welcome to SEC Basketball Predictions. I'm your host, Chris Lee, joined by Blake Lovell and Max Barr. Today, we are going to give you our thoughts on a big game Saturday in the Magnolia State. Ole Miss coming off an enormous road win at Alabama, faces a Mississippi State team that struggled a little bit lately, didn't look so hot against Auburn in a very emotionally charged game. Had Neville Arena down in Auburn, but I think better things are ahead for Mississippi State. Whether it is today, or the game we're talking about today, or the future, I still believe that. I think we all do. Wild game here. I think tickets going for crazy prices at the Humphrey Coliseum. Max Barr, start us off to talk about one of the most eagerly anticipated games in the state of Mississippi in a while.
I think this is one of the most anticipated games in the country for this weekend. We have the Hump, which is going to be packed as the number 9 home court advantage, according to Ken Pom, a top 10 home court advantage in the nation here, and it's going to be rocking on a nice Saturday against Ole Miss. This is just a perfect setup, I feel like, entertainment-wise. You've got a Mississippi State team at home playing a bit of a new perimeter offense who's dropped 2 in a row, not in desperation mode, but really needs a nice bounce-back win before they got to go to Tennessee next Tuesday. Coming against an Ole Miss team who's kind of on fire. It's the perfect setup for maybe a spread that's going to be one possession, I'd say. I mean, there's not going to be much separation in any predicting this game. I feel like this one is going to live up to everything we're going to think it is.
Yeah, great matchup. These two teams, again, I think ceiling-wise have a very high ceiling at this point. We've established that. But you said it. It's the thing we talked about all year is you can't let one loss turn into 2, turn into 3. Now Mississippi State has let one loss turn into 2 losses. Right now, no shame. We played Kentucky and Auburn, two of the better teams in the league. In the country right now. And so, again, there's no fault in that. But still, like you mentioned, Max, they got to go to Tennessee on Tuesday. And so it's a big game for Mississippi State because these are kind of the moments in the season where this ultimately defines, your seeding and those kind of things for the NCAA tournament. If you start to keep this streak going in the wrong direction, again, you just kind of know what that means. So, and then if you're Ole Miss, you're playing with house money at this point, right? You're 4-0. No one thought you'd be 4-0. You go into your rival. All the pressure's on Mississippi State here. Chris Beard's team's in a great spot, I think, heading into this game, just given the setup and where the two teams are at.
Max, you are our resident bully ball expert. And these two teams have both shown a big ability to defend. Ole Miss has just been rocketing up the defensive rankings with Mark Adams in the no-middle approach. We saw what the Rebels did at Alabama, one of the most impressive defensive performances we have seen in a while in this league. Mississippi State, it kind of comes and goes with these guys. That said, we are also judging them a little bit after playing 2 of the best 5 offenses in college basketball. Sometimes that stuff just kind of happens. What are you watching for defensively here?
I have it's circled on my notes. Malik Dia. How do you defend Malik Dia? How do you stop him? No one's been able to the past few games. And if you stop him, it just takes out one dimension of the Ole Miss offense. That's the main matchup, I think. Do they put Cam Matthews on Dia? Because Dia is undersized. I think it's interesting. Who they put on it. Jans is going to have a game plan. It's no secret that Dia has found his stride here. So Jans is going to game plan for him, right? And the thing with Ole Miss is they have other guys that can beat you. They got Dre Davis. They got Brakefield. They've got other kind of in that range of like 6'6" to 6'8", 6'9"-ish, real athletic guys that can do a little bit of everything. They've got a few. So be interesting to see Mikal Brown-Jones' status. What if he's going to play or not, because, hey, you never know. A game on the road, you could always use a little bit of extra physicality. But that's the main thing I got circled, Chris, is what does Jans throw at Malik Dia, coming off of 2 games where, yes, against incredible offenses, but you've just let up 95 and 88 in back-to-back games.
Yeah, that's a big story. There's no question because he's been playing. I mean, he's a monster right now. And so how do you stop him? I mean, I'm going to keep going back to the same thing. Anytime I try to look at a game for Ole Miss now, it's very clear. I mean, they just came off a game where they forced a season high in turnovers for Alabama. They turned it over 21 times against them. And that was an Alabama team. And by the way, still is an Alabama team that's in the top 10 in the country in offense. They were in the top 3 before that game. So if they're doing that against a team like that, with what Alabama has done offensively, now they're not. I mean, they're kind of middle of the pack in terms of taking care of the ball. Just because we always say it, it's like when you play the way Alabama does, you're going to turn the ball over sometimes, probably at a higher rate than teams that just walk the ball up the floor, and take 25 seconds off the shot clock or whatever. But can Ole Miss do that against a Mississippi State team that's been really good? And that's been the theme all season. We've said it. These guys do a great job of taking care of the ball because their guards are so good. And so I think that's, for me, easily one of the things that stands out here in terms of who's going to win this game. And it kind of goes back to the same thing. We just keep saying. We said it back at, with like the Arkansas game. We said now we look back at the Alabama game and probably feel the same way. It's like, who do you trust? An offense or a Chris Beard defense? No matter what the offense is, do you trust that offense or do you trust the Chris Beard defense in the matchup? Right now, Chris Beard defense is winning out a lot. And so that's what I'm most curious about with Mississippi State because, they're still scoring points, right? They scored 90 against Kentucky. At Auburn, they only scored 66. But, again, they kind of ran into a buzzsaw there with the Tigers. But I think this all comes down to, can Ole Miss yet again force Mississippi State, just like they have other teams, to play the way they want them to play? If they can, I think that's advantage Ole Miss in this game.
Max, I have a question for you on injuries, and we are doing this early Thursday morning. So I'm guessing injury reports won't be out for at least 24 hours. But 2 guys I'm watching, Michael Brown-Jones of Ole Miss, who's missed 3 in a row. He at times has been a part of what they do, had a 14-point game against Colorado State in what was a big game at the time. And then you've got Kanye Clary from Mississippi State, who's got the nebulous lower leg injury. He's been out over a month now. We've had no real updates that I have seen. I would presume he's not going to play, but do you have any thoughts on those 2 guys and any impact from that?
Well, yeah, definitely. And there's one you forgot, actually. Riley Kugel missed last game.
Right. Yeah.
And I thought it was because of that wrist that he had gotten taped up and was working around when he was playing the second half 2 games ago. But they reported it as an ankle injury that he tweaked. He did go through shoot around last game, and he was a game time decision. So it's not like he's, he was completely out. He's close to playing. Did they keep him out just so he'd be good to go for this game? I don't know. However, if you are Mississippi State and now you're down Clary, who was your other ball handler, and Kugel, just another member of that perimeter, you're down 2 of those guys against one of the best perimeter teams of just causing chaos and making life tough on you, turnovers, cutting off passing lanes. That could definitely come into play here. However, I bet when the injury report comes out, I bet it says like questionable or probable for Kugel, and it's game time decision again.
Yeah. All right, let's get the picks in our whys, and you start us off, Max.
Yeah, this is a tough one. This is a tough one because I think Ole Miss is playing the better basketball, the more consistent basketball right now. However, I think Mississippi State is the more desperate team with a rocking top 10 home crowd in the nation. And which way do you want to lean into that one? You can go either way. I want to go with Mississippi State, and I'm going to go Mississippi State at home.
What a setup there. The drama.
I think they get it done. However, If they do not get it done, I think we come back here and we're talking about how much of an impact Kanye Clary has on this backcourt.
I always like to check the tickets as low as feature at ESPN. And last night it was, I think, $140-something for tickets for this game. This morning it's up to $167. That building is going to be lit. People are going to show up. It's going to be electric. I think you guys hit on something. Ole Miss is kind of playing with house money right now. And you have heard me talk about it. I think the Clary injury, to me, is a piece that they are really missing right now. And I think this is a good ball team. I really do. Gosh, but if you have a missing piece in your backcourt, Ole Miss is one of the last teams you want to go up against. Their guards are older than Methuselah. They have played a lot of ball. They just went into Tuscaloosa and shut down Mark Sears and company. I love Sean Padula. I just love what they're doing there right now. I think they are going to really give State some troubles with the backcourt, with what they've got. I think they're physical enough to match up with State's physicality. Give me Ole Miss in a mild upset. Not a high degree of confidence, but I'm going against the grain on this one.
Okay.
I knew that's where you were headed with your setup. You always like to start with, boy, that building's going to be rocking. Not even Michael Jordan's Space Jam are walking in there getting the win. Not even the Toon Squad are going in and beating anybody when the tickets are that wild. But, yeah, I was curious where you guys were going to go in this game because I think this is one where it's just like, man, the two big stories here are that Mississippi State cannot really afford this loss, and Ole Miss has just simply played their style and imposed their will on everyone in SEC play so far. And, I mean, look, they haven't allowed anyone to score over 66 points in 4 games. Georgia, Arkansas, LSU, Alabama. Now, I think 3 of those teams leave a bit to be desired offensively. The other one was the most impressive of the bunch in winning at Alabama on Tuesday. We always say, what about the hangover effect? Do you have that? Well, this is a rivalry game. And so I don't know if there's as much of that because you're going into, the arch nemesis here and trying to steal one away from them and put Mississippi State in even more of a disadvantage. I never thought I would say this, but I think Chris is right.
What? Clip this, please, Max.
I never thought I would say that. I think Chris is right, which worries me a little bit, and that's why I'm going to pick Mississippi State. So I don't have a great feel on this one, but I think what Max said is what I'm going to lean on. I think they're the more desperate team right now after losing back-to-back games. But, boy, Ole Miss has worked this formula time and time again now, and I could absolutely see them doing it. And I kind of want to pick them here, but it worries me a little bit that I think Chris is right. So I'm gonna pick Mississippi State at home.
It worries me a lot too. Honestly, I was going to pick State heading into this, and I started thinking about it and matching it up, and just how that plays out. I talked myself into Ole Miss. That's usually a bad sign. So we will see what happens.
Ole Miss fans, we've heard it in the chat. You keep saying that I don't believe in you. I hear it all the time.
Clearly, I believe in you, Ole Miss. I don't know about these
now
guys.
You've got Chris on board. So at least we're starting to come around here, okay? So let's not act like we're not. So
if Ole Miss wins this game, the power rankings are going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
Very.
Hey, they're jumping into the top.
Top.
They're jumping into the top 3 or 4 probably if that happens.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, let's not kid ourselves here. Yeah, but anyways, it should be a great game. Like Chris said, it's one of the most anticipated between these two in a while. Just quickly, like the series history, there's not a lot here. I mean, usually the home team wins, but that's not always the case. I think Mississippi State's won the last 3 in Starkville. So, I mean, if you want to lean on something there, but yeah, it should be a great game, and I think it's a pick 'em in my opinion.
At least one of us is going to catch a lot of grief in the post-game reaction on Saturday night. It's usually me, probably will be me. Guess what? just another day in my life. I'll show up. We'll be here for it either way. We have a lot of fun with this in all seriousness, and hope you have too. So join us for our live streams, for our picks, whatever. What you need to do is, if you haven't subscribed, that's free. Please do that. Enable your notifications so you know when we have content. And again, watch out for our live stream probably Saturday night as we wrap up the day's action. What is a terrific slate of SEC basketball. For Max Barr and Blake Lovell, I'm your host, Chris Lee. God bless you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again with more SEC basketball content here at Southeastern 16.